September 11th, 2006. Radio City Music Hall, New York City, the MTV Video Music Awards. The cameras were rolling, the crowd was electric, and a 25-year-old pop star was about to make the most expensive joke of his career. He didn't know it yet. Nobody did. But Prince knew, and he smiled. The young artist, let's call him JT, had just finished performing his new single live for the first time on a major stage. The production was massive. Dancers, strobes, fog machines, a stadium-sized spectacle built around 3 minutes of polished, radio-engineered swagger. When the last note dropped, the crowd erupted. JT grabbed the microphone arms wide, basking in the applause like a man who had already written his own legend. "People keep comparing me to Prince," he said, letting the cheers die down just enough for what was coming. "I love the guy. Respect the legend." The audience applauded again, warm, respectful. Then the grin appeared, that specific grin, the one that lived in the space between confidence and arrogance. "But Prince is what, 5'2"? I'm 6'1". He paused for effect. "I guess sexy came back taller." The crowd exploded, laughter, gasps, a few people cheering, others covering their mouths. The cameras cut immediately to Prince. He was sitting in the VIP section. Black suit, sunglasses, completely still. For exactly 3 seconds, his face was unreadable. A wall of calm so total it looked almost supernatural. Then slowly, he smiled. Not warmly, not coldly. Just smiled, the way a chess grandmaster smiles when his opponent makes the move he was waiting for. Nobody in that room understood what that smile meant. They would. September 15th, Madison Square Garden. But first you need to understand what had just been said, and to whom. By 2006, Prince Rogers Nelson was 48 years old and 3 decades into one of the most extraordinary careers in music history. Multiple Grammys. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Purple Rain. Not just an album, but a cultural monument that had redefined what a black artist could do in rock and roll. He had played every instrument on his first 5 albums, alone, in the studio, in the dark. He had battled record labels, changed his name to an unpronounceable symbol, and won. And for the past 2 years, a new generation of critics had been calling JT the new Prince. A comparison endlessly repeated, lazily deployed, circling Prince like a slow insult dressed in a compliment. Prince had said nothing. He didn't need to. But when JT turned that comparison into a punchline and reduced 30 years of mastery to a height joke, Prince made a decision. Not out of anger, out of precision. Anger would have been too easy. What he was planning required patience, and patience was something Prince had in extraordinary supply. He left the venue without a word to anyone. No statement to the press, no response to reporters waiting outside. He got into his car, and by the time the late-night blogs were already running the clip under headlines like "JT clowns Prince at the VMAs," Prince was already back at his hotel, sitting in silence, thinking very carefully about what came next. His manager got the call around midnight. "September 15th, MSG, front row ticket, make sure it reaches him personally." That was all. No public tweet, no press release, just a message, delivered through the right channels, unmistakable in its intent, an invitation, or depending on how you looked at it, a summons. When JT heard about it the next morning, his first instinct was to wave it off. His management team was less relaxed. "Don't go," they told him. "This is a setup. He's going to humiliate you in front of 18,000 people." JT laughed. He was 25 years old, on top of the world, and the idea that a man nearly twice his age could make him look small seemed almost absurd. "I made a joke," he said. "He invited me to his show. That's respect." His manager shook his head. "That's not respect. That's a trap." JT posted his acceptance publicly. "Challenge accepted. See you Friday." The music world went briefly insane. Ticket resale prices for the September 15th show tripled overnight. People who already had tickets suddenly realized they might be sitting in a room where history was being made. The anticipation was electric and slightly dangerous, like static before lightning. Madison Square Garden on September 15th had a different energy from any ordinary concert. Not the usual electricity of fans celebrating their favorite artist. Something sharper. Closer to the feeling before a verdict is read. JT arrived front row, center, wearing sunglasses indoors, projecting the image of a man with absolutely nothing to worry about. The lights went down at 8:30 p.m. Prince walked out in a purple suit, guitar already in hand, moving like electricity had been given a human shape. His eyes swept the front row, found JT immediately. For one beat, their eyes met. Prince smiled, not the same smile as Radio City, warmer, more dangerous. For the first 45 minutes, Prince gave a masterclass in what a concert is supposed to be. No opening act, no warm-up, just Prince, his band, and the accumulated weight of 30 years of stagecraft deployed at full force. Every song landed like a precision strike. Every transition was seamless. JT was dancing in his seat, leaning over to his friends, nodding along. He was enjoying himself. He was not yet afraid. That was about to change. After Sign of the Times, Prince set down his guitar and walked to the front of the stage. The crowd sensed the shift immediately and went quiet. "Before we continue," Prince said, his voice measured and unhurried, carrying that specific Minneapolis cadence that sounded like calm water over smooth stone. "I want to talk about something." 18,000 people held their breath. JT's smile disappeared for the first time all night. "Someone said sexy is back," Prince continued, "like it ever went anywhere." The crowd exploded. They knew. The energy in the room crackled upward to a completely different register. "And someone made a height joke," Prince said, almost gently. "Said sexy came back taller." Every camera in the arena swung toward the front row. JT removed his sunglasses slowly. His jaw was set. His face was flushed. Prince looked directly at him. "JT," he said, "thank you for coming. I appreciate that. Now let me show you something." He turned to his band. "Gentlemen, we're changing the set list." What followed was not revenge. It was a revelation. Prince launched into Sexy Dancer. Not a showcase, not a performance, but a demonstration of what the word means when it belongs to someone who invented it for themselves. His body moved with a physical fluency that seemed to exist outside ordinary physics, every gesture deliberate, every movement carrying its own internal logic. The stage presence didn't fill the room. It restructured it, reorganized the space around him, so that every other point in the arena became secondary to wherever he was standing. 18,000 people moved with him without deciding to. JT sat completely still. He had stopped dancing. He was watching. Then International Lover. Prince at the piano, lights dropped to near darkness, his voice unhurried in the way that only comes from total mastery, the confidence to leave space, to let silence do its own work. JT's friends leaned over to say something. He didn't respond. Then Scandalous, a falsetto that climbed into registers that should have required studio processing and arrived clean, unassisted, impossible. Then the guitar solo. Prince's fingers moved the way water moves, not demonstrated, just flowing in the only direction gravity allowed. Technically staggering and emotionally devastating in the same breath. JT put his hands over his face. When he took them away, his eyes were wet. "He's not performing," he said quietly, to no one. "He's just being." For the final song, Adore, Prince lay flat on the stage, his iconic position, looking up, singing to the ceiling, and somehow directly into everyone in the room at once. 18,000 people stood in silence and received it. When the last note ended, the ovation lasted 15 minutes. Not the roar of fans celebrating someone they love. The sound of people acknowledging something that transcends preference. JT applauded with both hands, his face carrying an expression that had nothing left of swagger in it. Just recognition. Earned, humbling, irreversible. Prince stood, walked to the microphone, let the applause settle into something manageable. "That was no dancers," he said. "No pyrotechnics, no digital correction." He looked at JT directly, one final time. Sexy never left. It was always here. Some people just weren't looking in the right direction. He paused. "JT, come up here." The chant started instantly, spreading through 18,000 people in seconds. JT, JT, JT. Every camera in the building was locked on him. He sat for a moment that felt much longer than it was. The moment where you either choose courage or you don't. Then he stood. The crowd parted. Security opened the path. He walked to the stage on legs that weren't entirely steady, climbed the stairs, and met Prince at the center. They shook hands. Prince handed him a microphone. The arena went completely silent, the specific silence of 18,000 people deciding not to breathe. JT stood there for a moment, microphone in hand, looking out at the crowd and then back at Prince. When he finally spoke, his voice had lost every trace of performance. "I made a joke 9 days ago," he said. "A stupid, arrogant joke." His voice cracked slightly and he didn't try to hide it. "I thought being young meant I was better, that the future was mine and the past was over." He looked at Prince. "Tonight you showed me what mastery actually looks like, what timeless actually means." He turned to face the crowd fully. "I was wrong. I was completely wrong." The ovation that followed shook the building. Later, backstage, just the two of them. Prince with a towel around his neck, JT still not entirely composed. The older man said something simple. "You had something to prove. That's fine. Everyone does at 25. The question is what you do after you've been shown the thing you couldn't see." JT asked if he could come to Paisley Park. Prince studied him for a long moment. "Come next week," he said. "I'll show you what timeless actually requires." Those sessions became the education JT later called more valuable than any other in his career. Not techniques, philosophy. "Music is not about being the newest version of something," Prince told him during a session that ran until dawn. "It's about being the truest version of yourself. Find that, and you don't have to come back. You never left." Years later, JT released a record critics called his most mature and complete work. The liner notes included one line: "Thank you for teaching me that timeless beats trendy. Every time." April 21st, 2016, Prince died at Paisley Park. JT posted that night, 2006 MSG. "I mocked a legend. He humbled me in front of 18,000 people, then taught me. That's not revenge. That's grace." The footage from that September night still circulates. Music teachers use it. Guitar instructors skip past the technique and go straight to the emotion. And every time someone needs proof that real artistry has no expiration date, the same footage appears. A small man in a purple suit, standing alone at the edge of a stage, filling every inch of an 18,000-seat arena with nothing but truth. So here's the question. Has someone ever tried to reduce you to a single, small, dismissible thing? Your height, your age, your background, to avoid having to take you seriously? And what did you do about it? Drop it in the comments. Because Prince didn't answer with words. He answered with 40 years of preparation, 4 songs, and 12 minutes that nobody in that room will ever forget.